Welcome to U.S. Immigration. Officially YouTube verified U.S. Immigration channel.
DV Lottery 2024 results. U.S. Consular Officer explains next steps and important info.
On May 6th, 2023, beginning on May 6th, 2023, you can go to a website, the dvprogram.state.gov/ESC, dvprogram.state.gov/ESC. You can go to that website and there's a entrant status check link. Click on that, you enter your confirmation number, and it will let you know whether you've been selected or not. If you are selected, wonderful, congratulations, we're excited to have you. Now you need to complete your diversity visa application. And you'll need to submit the State Department form DS-260, and you'll get other instructions from the U.S. State Department's Kentucky Consular Center's email address, giving you instructions about how to proceed from there. And then once your case is documentarily complete, once you've followed all those instructions, you will get an interview. You'll be assigned an interview date at the embassy here. We'll fast forward to May 6th. Well, I guess in between, I should say, there are lots of fraudulent organizations, companies, predators out there who understand what a big deal this is, understand there's a lot of hype around the U.S. diversity visa program, and seek to profit from that. So there is no fee. It is absolutely free to submit this online application. If you are selected and end up coming to the embassy for an interview, then you have to pay some fees, right? But before then, there is absolutely no cost to this. So if someone is trying to tell you, hey, you know, for only $100, we can get you signed up for the diversity visa program, don't waste your money, because the application is fairly simple. You can do it yourself and it doesn't cost any money. Likewise, if you get emails from anyone saying, hey, you've been selected to participate in the DV program, don't believe those. We do not send out any emails to let you know if you've been selected or not. The only way to find out if you've been selected or not is by going to dvprogram.state.gov/ESC and clicking on the entrant status check link and entering your confirmation number. That's the only way to find out if you've been selected or not. We are not going to notify you directly. Thereafter, we will be sending email instructions about how to proceed to the email address that you entered when you filled out the online application. So be sure that you have access to that email and that you monitor it after May 6th. So again, don't get sucked. Don't be suckered into giving away money or getting cheated out of money. Don't do that. We're not going to send you any emails. We're letting you know that you've been selected. So if you get an email saying that, you know that it's from a fraudulent source. It doesn't cost any money to apply. So anyone who tries to suggest otherwise is trying to cheat you out of your money. So beware of fraud. There's a lot of it out there. I've poked around on the internet, and there's tons of illicit organizations that use like a seal that looks very similar to the seal of the United States. And it's like United States Diversity Visa Program Authority. Very, very similar, but it's not us. It's not us. And be careful. Don't get cheated.
Before moving forward with this topic, please like this video so YouTube can recommend helpful immigration-related content to everyone interested in this topic. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and share the video with your friends. Let's get back to the discussion.
And then you go and you interview with a consular officer such as myself. And if you don't have ineligibilities and you meet the qualifications for the program, then you will be issued a visa. So I should back up now. And so there are only two eligibility criteria for this program. One, you have to be a native of a country with historically low rates of immigration. So there's three ways to qualify as a native. One, if you're born in that country, so we'll just use Madagascar as an example. If you're born in Madagascar, then you are a native of Madagascar and you meet the first eligibility criteria. If you're not born in Madagascar, but one of your parents was born in Madagascar or in a country of low eligibility, well, let me back up. So if you're not born in a country of low immigration rates to the United States, and neither one of your parents were either, they were not a resident or a citizen of the country in which you were born, but your parents were born in a country of historically low immigration rates, then you can borrow the nationality of either one of your parents and use that to qualify under this first criteria. And then a third is if you're married and your spouse is a native of a country of historically low immigration rates, then by virtue of your husband or wife's nationality, you can qualify. So that's the first eligibility criteria. You have to be a native of a country with historically low rates of immigration to the United States. Second eligibility criteria, and final, is you have to have completed high school or the equivalent of U.S. high school, or you have to have had at least 2 years of qualifying work experience in a profession that requires at least 2 years of preparation or education to be prepared for. So to determine whether you qualify for that, on that basis for the second criteria, there is a website, U.S. Department of Labor's ONET online database. So if you Google that, you'll be able to link to this website. And on that website, there's a tab for find occupations. And under that, you select job family. And then you can browse for whatever job you have that you hope will qualify you. And once you select that, you go down and there's a bunch of information that the Department of Labor has compiled particular to that career. And one of the line items is the SVP, or the specific vocational preparation rating range. And if your career in which you've been working for more than 2 years has an SVP of greater than 7.0, then 2 years working in that profession can satisfy this second requirement. Otherwise, you're ineligible, unfortunately. So, and I took a look at this website myself, and most kind of manual labor jobs, even special ones like plumbers and pipe fitters and welders, don't qualify. The SVP for those jobs is usually around 6, like 4 to 6, and so they don't qualify, unfortunately. So to repeat, 2 eligibility criteria: 1, you have to be a native of a country with historically low rates of immigration to the U.S., and 2, you have to either have the equivalent of graduation from high school in the United States, so that's 12 years of primary and secondary education, or you have to have 2 years of work experience in a qualifying field. So those are the only qualifications. Couple other tidbits, words to the wise. You can only apply once. If you're married and both you and your wife qualify, both you and your wife can submit applications. You can double your chances that way. But you cannot personally submit more than one application. And during some fraud training, we actually looked into this, and the State Department has very sophisticated technology to suss out and identify duplicate applications. I remember during that fraud training, looking at a case, someone from an Eastern European country had applied like 17 times and worn wigs and grown facial hair and applied under different dates of birth and names, hoping that she could increase her chances of getting selected. But again, sophisticated technology was able to identify each one of these duplicate application since she was disqualified. So don't do that. Don't disqualify yourself. Just apply one time. And the question has come up, what happens if I'm submitting my application and my computer crashes? After I push the submit button, am I going to get penalized if I submit another application? Will that be a duplicate application? And the answer is no. Like if there's some sort of glitch and even after you press submit, until you receive a confirmation number, we haven't received your application and you are entitled to submit one again. So no worries on that front. But once you have that confirmation number, do not try to submit another application. What else? All right. So now May 6th comes, Day of Triumph, hopefully for you. Go to the website, enter your confirmation number. And then once if you have been selected, follow the instructions you get from the Kentucky Consular Center. And the sooner you'll be required to get documents together, right? Because when you show up to my window to interview, you have to have everything in order. Lots of original documents, a medical examination, proof that you qualify either under the work requirement or the requirement that you have graduated from high school or the equivalent. So there are many, many people each year who are selected but don't end up getting a visa because they either don't get their information together or they don't get it together in time. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, they actually select twice the number. So only 55,000 DV visas can be issued in a year, but they actually select 110,000 people worldwide to move on in this program. So 110,000 people will on May 6th be able to go and see that they've been selected. But as soon as we've issued 55,000 diversity visas, program's over for the year, even if that happens before the end. But usually it goes all the way to the end. So September 30th is the very last day of the fiscal year. And by law, we cannot issue any more diversity visas for the previous year after September 30th. So even if you have everything ready, let's say you waited till the last minute and you even get an interview on September 30th, but there's some sort of technical glitch on our part and the clearances don't come through and we're not able to print your visa, you're out of luck. So it's really, really scary. This year we had, I interviewed someone the day before and we were barely able to print their visa on the 30th for her and her family, thankfully, but it doesn't always end that way. So again, one more reason to get your application in quickly. If you do get selected, follow those instructions about getting your documents together, getting your medical examination quickly so that you can get an interview and interview at the embassy as soon as possible. Because again, once the 55,000 number is reached, program's over. Once the September 30th date has passed, program's over. So apply early. First come, first serve in that respect among selectees. So you have every incentive to get right on this and get everything together quickly. There is a very complicated mathematical formula by which the numbers of diversity visas for each of the 6 regions of the world are selected or calculated. So, and basically what they do is, super complicated. It takes about 2 pages of a law to explain it. But essentially, each region of the world, the world is divided into 6 regions. And they take the total population of those regions minus the population of countries with high immigration rates. And then they multiply that by a small factor. And that's how much of the total 110,000 get allocated to each region, right? So there's no specific carve out for Madagascar. There is a caveat that says no one nation can get more than 7% of the total. So that's the law's attempt at making sure that it's kind of fairly evenly spread out among all of the countries that are eligible to participate. And I don't know how many were actually selected from, I'll give it to you from my perspective. So when one of my staff members will hand me a packet of information that's ready for interview, right? So the family or the individuals out there in our waiting room, I'll look over the packet. And what I'm looking for is if there's more than one individual, I'm looking to see if the relationship is credible between all of those individuals, because unfortunately, there's a lot of fraud, relationship fraud within the U.S. immigration system. So someone pretends to be married to someone else because they got selected in the DV lottery program or applied, mentioning this fake spouse or fake children that they want to get over if they get lucky. So one of my first tasks is just to make sure that the relationship is credible. So I'm looking for marriage certificates, birth certificates that list both of the parents in the family that's before me. Then I'm looking for, do they meet the 2 eligibility criteria? If you have a Malagasy passport, you're a native of Madagascar, and you pass that with flying colors. Then I'm looking for either some sort of high school diploma or the 2 years of work experience. I don't think I've ever adjudicated a case that qualified based on the work experience. Pretty much everyone that I've interviewed has satisfied that requirement by presenting valid, legitimate, credible proof of having graduated from high school. And then I look at the medical form. So before the interview, you have to get a medical examination from the embassy panel physician. I'll back up a little bit. So there are ineligibilities, statutory or legal ineligibilities that would prevent someone from getting a visa, even if they are selected in the DV program, and even if they get all their paperwork together and come to the interview. If you have been convicted of a crime, if you have a communicable disease of a certain type, those kind of things will make you ineligible for a visa. So even though you meet all the other requirements and I want to issue the visa, legally I'm not allowed to if our systems or the documents or your testimony during the interview indicate that you are ineligible for a visa under the various statutory legal ineligibilities listed in our law. So that's how it'll go. Diversity visa interviews are some of my favorite because, these normally for non-immigrant visas, the law tells me I have to assume that these people are illegally trying to immigrate to the United States. And so it's more like, can they overcome that presumption and demonstrate to me their ties? And I hate having to tell people no, but it happens. It happens sometimes. And that's my least favorite part of my job. With diversity visas, I've never refused one. Because the requirements are pretty simple, and it's most people that satisfy them, most of the people that get to that point have easily satisfied those requirements. A couple that I interviewed, the day before the end of the fiscal year, both parents had graduate degrees, so they easily qualified. And that's not to say you need a graduate degree or that's going to help you be selected. Again, high school diploma or qualifying work experience is all that's needed. But I love these interviews because I've never had to refuse one. So again, I don't know, like if you've been convicted of a crime, if you've financed some terrorists, if you've engaged in, I believe the fees are about, I don't know exactly how much the fees are. It can be up to $1,000 or pretty close, depending on how many applicants there are. We did a family of 3, and I think the fee they paid was $900 for their interview. And then after that, there's a $220 fee that you pay to USCIS within a month of getting to the United States for your green card. Is essentially your visa for the next 5 years until you become a US citizen. So yeah, there's some substantial fees. And it's one of the reasons why if you wait until the very end to interview, there's some risk because every visa applicant has to go through certain clearances to determine if they're ineligibilities, and those clearances take time. For most applicants, it just takes like 24 hours and that's it. But even on that, if you're applying the last day of the year, odds are your clearances aren't going to come back in time. And if the clearances don't come back in time, even if you're ultimately eligible, if that visa isn't issued before the 30th, you're out of luck. And our system doesn't allow us to issue visas until those clearances come back. Sometimes cases are selected for additional administrative processing in a process that I don't completely understand. Those cases can take even longer, sometimes up to a month. So all the more reason to apply early so that in case your case does get stuck in that administrative processing, you have time for that clearance to come back before the September 30th deadline. The US government doesn't pay for your travel, doesn't give you housing, doesn't give you a job. Like, you are on your own after that, right? Fortunately, America is a wonderful country with lots of opportunities. I believe in America, and I believe that any industrious, hardworking person can make it if they try. It'll be difficult, especially for the first few years, but there are opportunities for those who are willing to work hard and sacrifice. But if you don't even have the money to get a plane ticket over there, there's really no purpose in applying for this visa, because unless you have a rich friend who can pay for your plane ticket, because the US government doesn't pay for that. Once you get your visa, which you've paid for, you'll have to pay for yourself to get over there and your family, and pay for housing, pay for food, pay for transportation to go look for work, things like that. I think it's a wonderful program through which those who meet these requirements throughout all the world have a chance, an equal chance. It's very egalitarian to form their own American dream and go for it. So I strongly encourage you, if you're on the fence, there's no fee, very little effort to do it. So why not? And we love America is richly blessed by the diversity that we have, the folks that come from all over the world. I think it's one of the reasons why it is one of the sources of our country's strength. And I'm very grateful for my friends and neighbors who've come from other countries and would just love to see this continue, and wish all of you the very best of luck in your efforts. Thank you.